I live in a split-level home with my younger brother, Jeremy. The layout is unique, essentially two separate living spaces in one house. I have the upper floor to myself, while Jeremy stays downstairs. He's barely home, though, spending most nights at his girlfriend's place. Being alone in the house is nothing new to me. I'm 29, old enough to not get spooked easily. But some nights, when the silence stretches too far, I catch myself feeling uneasy. This was one of those nights. I had settled in on my couch with a horror movie playing, the only light coming from the television's flickering glow. The way my living room was set up meant that my back faced a vast, open space leading to the dining area and kitchen. That kind of exposure made my skin crawl, like someone could be standing there, just watching. I kept glancing over my shoulder, half expecting to see a figure lurking in the darkness. After the movie ended, I went through my usual bedtime routine, brushed my teeth, checked the locks, shut off all the lights. Then I went to sleep. I woke up a few hours later, heart pounding in my chest. Something had pulled me from sleep, but I didn't know what. I lay there, straining to hear past the quiet hum of the refrigerator downstairs. Then, a voice. It was soft but unmistakable, Jeremy's voice. He was downstairs, calling my name. At first, I thought maybe he had come home early, but that made no sense. He never returned this late. But what stood out the most was the tone of his voice. It wasn't urgent, wasn't panicked. It was flat, almost hollow. Still groggy, I dragged myself out of bed, rubbing my eyes as I stumbled into the hallway. I flipped on the light, my pulse quickening. "Jeremy," I called out. Silence. Then, from downstairs, "Come here." Something about it was off. It was my brother's voice, but wrong, like someone trying too hard to mimic him. I moved cautiously down the stairs, my bare feet making the wood creak beneath me. The air felt heavier down here, colder somehow. I reached for the light switch in the foyer, fumbling in the dark. When the kitchen light flickered on, it cast a dim glow over the downstairs area, just enough for me to see that the space was empty. Jeremy wasn't here. I stood frozen, listening. The house was still, too still. Then, from behind me, something hit the floor in Jeremy's bedroom. A loud, solid thump. A jolt of adrenaline shot through me, and I bolted up the stairs, taking them two at a time. I slammed my bedroom door shut, locking it behind me as I grabbed my phone with trembling fingers. I called Jeremy. No answer. I called again. Nothing. My breathing was shaky. Had I imagined it? Maybe I was still half asleep, my brain playing tricks on me. But the sound, the thump, had been real. I curled up under my blankets, staring at the locked door, every muscle tense. Sleep didn't come easy, but eventually, exhaustion took over. I woke up the next morning to a text from Jeremy. "Why did you call me at 1 a.m.? Everything okay?" I stared at the message, my heart sinking. "Were you home last night?" I asked. His reply was immediate. "No, I stayed at Olivia's." "Why?" I didn't answer. Instead, I went back downstairs, back into his bedroom. I needed to find something, anything, to prove that what I had heard was real. But the floor was empty. Nothing had fallen. No objects out of place. No signs that anyone had been here. I wanted to believe that it had all been a hallucination, a half-dream conjured up by my overactive imagination. Because the alternative, the idea that someone or something had been in the house, calling to me in my brother's voice, was too terrifying to accept. Story 2. I grew up in a quiet, rural neighborhood where the most exciting thing that ever happened was a power outage during a thunderstorm. Our house sat on a lonely stretch of road, with our backyard opening up to nothing but empty fields. When I was 14, I spent a lot of time home alone. My mom, a nurse, worked long night shifts at the hospital, and my older brother had left for college. It was just me in the house. On the night it happened, I wasn't feeling particularly uneasy. If anything, I was relaxed. A girl I had been talking to, Megan, had come over earlier in the evening. We hung out, watched some movies, and when her curfew neared, I walked her to the front door. Her house was only a few streets over, but I watched until her taillights disappeared into the darkness. After she left, I went back to my room and turned on the TV. The glow from the screen flickered across my walls as I scrolled mindlessly through my phone. My room was on the second floor, with a single window that faced our backyard. I had left it slightly open to let in the cool night air. Then, I heard it. A scraping noise. It wasn't loud, just enough to pull my attention away from the screen. It sounded like something being dragged across wood. My stomach knotted as I slowly turned my head toward the window. I almost convinced myself I had imagined it until I saw him. A figure sat in one of the wooden chairs on our back porch. The dim porch light barely illuminated his form, but I could make out his silhouette. He was facing me. My breath hitched. At first, I thought, Megan? Maybe she had come back for something? But the second I squinted into the dark, I knew it wasn't her. The figure was too big. The posture was all wrong. The man didn't move. He just sat there, hunched forward slightly, staring up at my window. A chill ran down my spine. My first instinct was to pull away from the window, but I couldn't. I was frozen, locked in place. My heart pounded as I forced myself to look away, grabbing my phone. I typed quickly into my group chat. Someone is in my backyard, sitting on the porch, not moving. A few friends responded. WDF? Who? You messing with us? Bro, call the cops. My hands were shaking too hard to dial. I forced myself to peek again. He was still there, sitting perfectly still, watching. A lump formed in my throat. I wanted to believe this was a prank, but every second that passed made that seem less likely. His head was tilted slightly now, as if amused. Then, without warning, he started to laugh. I couldn't hear it, but I saw it. His shoulders shook, his head bobbed up and down, his mouth opening and closing in exaggerated motions. He was laughing hard, but there was no sound. I yanked the blinds shut. My body was trembling. I backed away from the window and sat down on my bed, my arms wrapped around my knees. What do I do? I was terrified to turn on the lights, afraid that if I moved too much, he'd see me. He already knew I was there. But if I stayed perfectly still, maybe he'd leave. Then, I heard it. The back door handle. It rattled once, then twice. He was trying to get in. Panic shot through me like lightning. I scrambled off my bed, my mind racing. My mom always locked the doors before she left. But had I? Had I locked the back door after Megan left? The handle stopped rattling. For a second, I thought, maybe he gave up. Then, I heard it again. The front door. A slow, testing push against the frame. The sound of the knob twisting, once, twice. I grabbed my phone, my fingers fumbling as I finally dialed. My breath was shallow as I whispered, "Please pick up. Please pick up." 911 answered. The operator's voice was calm. Mine was anything but. "There's someone trying to get into my house," I whispered. "He was in my backyard. Now he's at the front door." I could barely get the words out. The operator asked if I was alone. I told her yes. She told me to stay quiet, to lock my bedroom door if possible. Then she said something that made my blood run cold. "Where are you right now?" "In my room," I whispered. "Okay. Can you see the front door from there?" I hesitated. "No, but I heard." She cut me off. "Stay put. Don't move. Officers are on their way." Then, through the phone, I heard something else. Something that made my stomach drop. A second voice. It was faint, like someone whispering into the receiver. I barely caught it before it disappeared into static. I sucked in a sharp breath. "What was that?" The operator paused. "I was about to ask you that." My entire body went rigid. That wasn't me. Another silence. Then she said, "Stay quiet. Keep the line open." I sat there, gripping my phone so tightly my knuckles turned white. Then another noise. Not from the front door. Not from the backyard. From inside the house. A creak. A slow, deliberate step. The floorboards outside my room. My heart stopped. He was inside. I covered my mouth to stop myself from making a sound. My entire body screamed to move, to run, to hide, but I didn't. I couldn't. The footsteps continued. Slow. Unhurried. He was walking down the hall. The handle to my bedroom door twitched. My breath hitched in my throat. I shoved myself backward into my closet, pressing my back against the wall. The doorknob turned, locked. A pause. Then, 3 slow knocks. Knock. 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 I shut my eyes. Then, after a long, agonizing pause, he started laughing again. It was quiet, breathy, like a sick game. Then the footsteps moved away. I didn't move for what felt like forever. The house was silent again. Then, finally, red and blue lights flashed through my window. By the time the cops arrived, the front door was wide open. They searched the house. Found no one. Nothing. No sign of a break-in. Every lock was still in place. But they found something else. On the back porch, scratched into the wooden planks with something sharp, were the words, "I see you." They never found him. Story 3. I was 10 years old when I realized that even home, the safest place in the world, wasn't always safe. It was a Friday night. My parents had rushed out after getting a phone call from the hospital. My older brother, Adam, had been in an accident. A car hit him while he was biking home, breaking his leg. My mom was hysterical, crying as she grabbed the car keys. My dad, always the calmer one, reassured me that everything would be fine. They didn't have time to make arrangements for me. My little sister, Ellie, was only 5, and they didn't want to bring her along to the hospital. I told them I'd be fine staying home alone. I wasn't scared, at least, not at first. For the next few hours, I distracted myself playing a Star Wars game on the PlayStation. The house was silent except for the sounds of laser blasters and the occasional rumble of thunder from outside. I kept my bedroom door closed, the dim blue glow from the TV making my room feel cozy, safe. Then I heard the front door open. It was soft, almost careful. I froze, my hands gripping the controller. My parents wouldn't be back this soon. I turned off the TV. Darkness swallowed my room. For a few seconds, I just sat there, listening. No voices, no footsteps. Then, something worse. The unmistakable sound of the door closing again. My heartbeat pounded in my ears. I crept toward my bedroom door, pressing my ear against the wood. Maybe I had imagined it. Maybe it was just the storm playing tricks on me. Then I heard them. Soft footsteps. Multiple. People were in the house. I felt paralyzed. I wasn't old enough to have a phone yet, and the landline was downstairs in the kitchen. Near them, I opened my door a crack, just enough to peer down the dark hallway. The dim orange glow from the streetlight outside barely illuminated the banister overlooking the living room below. 3 shadows stood in the dark. My stomach dropped. They weren't moving, just standing there. For a second, I thought, maybe it's my parents? Maybe they came back? Then one of them took a step forward. Not toward the stairs. Toward the hallway. Toward me. I panicked. My 10-year-old brain didn't know what to do. I silently shut my door and locked it. I had nowhere to go. My room didn't have a lock on the window. The closet was my only option. I crept inside, pushing myself behind the boxes of old clothes and school supplies. And then, I waited. For a long time, there was nothing. Then, the soft creak of my bedroom door opening. I felt my entire body lock up. Someone was inside. I heard them move, slow, deliberate footsteps. Then, the sound of my blankets shifting. I gritted my teeth to stop from making a sound. They were checking the bed, looking for me. Then silence. For a long, unbearable moment, I thought maybe they had left. Maybe they had realized I wasn't here. Then, a new sound. The closet door handle turning. I sucked in a sharp breath as the door slowly creaked open. I clenched my eyes shut. If I didn't look, maybe, they wouldn't see me. The door stayed open. Seconds passed. I heard breathing. Right. Outside. The closet. It was slow. Controlled. Like whoever was standing there was waiting. I counted in my head. 1, 2, 3. The closet door shut. I nearly sobbed in relief. I stayed curled up in that space for what felt like hours. I didn't move, didn't breathe too hard, didn't let myself think about anything except staying silent. Then, finally, headlights flashed through my window. The sound of a car pulling into the driveway. My parents. I heard quick footsteps retreating down the hall, down the stairs. Then, the front door opening. By the time I heard my mom's voice calling my name, they were gone. I ran downstairs as fast as I could, throwing myself into my dad's arms. I was crying, shaking. I tried to tell them what happened, but my words were a mess. My dad checked the house while my mom held me. The front door was unlocked. My bedroom door was wide open. Nothing was missing. But when I finally worked up the courage to go back upstairs, I saw it. Scratched into the wood of my closet door, deep, uneven letters, were the words. "We saw you. We never found out who they were."